Does this sound familiar to you? You've done the hard work of creating a custom setting. You've fleshed out the bones, what countries are in it, what the people are like, and you know what themes you want to explore. Your players are extremely excited to see what you've got in store for them. But a session or two in, they find themselves extremely frustrated. Not only have you created a custom world, but you've also sprinkled in a bunch of interesting mechanical homebrew rules. Rules that have a bigger impact on gameplay than you anticipated. These rules are meant to enhance the story, not take away from it. That's why you had a session 0 after all, to explain the rules and how they work. So what's going wrong? Why aren't the players really engaging with them? And how can we get them to embrace the homebrew that you've provided? Hi, my name is Ian from Incendium D&D. And today, we're going to be talking about introducing homebrew rules to your players and getting them excited to use them. So, I'm going to put this up front. Being a dungeon master means both creating a world and teaching your players to live in it. You are a teacher and the players are your students in this metaphor. And I think the best way to help them navigate the learning curve of your custom setting is to take things piece by piece. Kind of like Mega Man X. Mega Man X premiered on the SNES in Japan in 1993. During an age when video games were on the decline, Capcom sought to revolutionize the industry by taking advantage of the latest developments in technology by Nintendo. Mega Man X's installment successfully revived the aging game series, and now it stands as one of the greatest video games of all time. One of the reasons it was so successful, I'd argue, is about how the game taught its players. I'm not going to go too far into this, as Egoraptor has already done a deep dive of this on YouTube in his series Sequelitis. If you want an exciting bit of edutainment, go check him out. His videos are evergreen and they're always entertaining to watch. So, long story short, the intro stage of Mega Man X drops you into a combat scenario. It gives you no guidance, no information on how the controls work, and leaves it up to you to discover these things through trial and error. Eventually, you learn how to move your character, jump, wall slide, and shoot lemons. You encounter the boss, get saved by Zero, and the next stage begins. So how does this relate to D&D? We can't just drop our players into a combat scenario with no information on how the world works, can we? That would be suicide, I hear you cry. Not so fast. Directly emulating a video game in D&D could be difficult to pull off, and a little bit counterintuitive. But there are lessons to be learned from Mega Man X. The game starts you off like many other video games do with an intro stage. This is a controlled environment for the game developers to let you figure out how their game works. You can make a lot of mistakes here without it meaning game over. Mega Man X in particular has a good few controls to get used to, but I recommend in D&D taking this a step down. Use 1 or 2 homebrew rules at a time so that your players can acclimatize to them. Test them out. Figure out how they work in and outside of combat before saying, yes, this is exactly what I want. Let's say you're interested in exploring the concept of alchemy in your world. You want to make it strong, something that the players can rely on for great benefits, but at the cost of potential toxicity. Each potion comes with a side effect, but the benefits might be worth it. Or perhaps you're looking for more brutal combat, and that's why you've implemented lingering wounds into your games, forcing your players to seek medical treatment in towns and spend resources on it, thereby learning more about your world. So does that mean we should just throw them some healing potions that are really strong but poison them, or cut off a limb and see what happens? No, you have to make it clear at the outset how these rules work and what they're meant to do. This starts, of course, with session 0, but you don't want to overwhelm them, and that's why you're only using 1 or 2 of these rules at a time to test the water and see how things feel. Many homebrew rules have wide-ranging impacts, things you can't account for, so diving headfirst into the homebrew waters is not a good strategy for game design. And better still, you should make sure they know that these rules are changed as needed. You all want to have fun, and being stubborn about the specific mechanics you have set up from the start is not a good way to achieve that. Ask for feedback before your rules start to diminish gameplay. Each session is a controlled environment specifically designed for playtesting. Many DMs, especially new DMs, get frustrated when their players start to ignore their world building or special homebrew. There's a lot of good advice out there for not just getting your players excited to play, but to play specifically in your world by your rules. Some well-respected content creators and DMs have suggested that you should back your players into a corner and force them to use in-world lore to solve the problem. I can get behind this. Heightening the drama is always a good way to capture your players' attention. But I think there's more to it when it comes to homebrew rules and systems. I hinted at this in the previous section, but to be clear, you should reward the behavior you want to see in your players. This isn't just about D&D, this is a core element of game design. And game designing is exactly what you're doing as a dungeon master. Players will be more likely to engage with your stuff if it benefits them for doing so. Want them to use your crafting system? Design quests around locating resources and make the resulting magic items both competitive and flavorful. Want them to pay attention to world politics? Give them a boon that provides them advantages in the courts and special social status in town. Perhaps the magistrate's seal will provide them with a special authority when it comes to dealing with pesky guards. It's important to recognize that the players view their characters as the protagonists, and if it doesn't directly affect them or their goals, they just won't bother with half of the lore and homebrew that you come up with. It's important to recognize that the players will see their characters as the protagonists, and sometimes if it doesn't directly affect them, they won't bother with half of the lore or rules that you came up with.
This is what a cornfield looks like, honey.
And this doesn't mean that they dislike your world, the games that you run, or the sessions that you prep. There's a reason they show up every night after all. But if there's no incentive to engage, you just may be spending your energy on the wrong things for this specific campaign. Well, that's what I've got to say on this subject anyway. What do you think? Did I have a good point, or was I completely off the mark? What advice do you have for new dungeon masters looking to create homebrew? Custom rules and lore are one of my favorite things to do in D&D. In fact, I've been coming to the conclusion lately that my superpower is brainstorming. I'm really good at coming up with like a million different things to use, but focusing these things into one single good, cohesive idea, that takes a lot more work. Honestly, that's why I work together with John on this channel, because he provides that kind of focus for me. The rules you use should enhance the stories you want to tell, not diminish them. If you like this video, let YouTube know. Hit like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It really means a lot to us, and thank you so much to all the new subscribers we've been getting. Have an awesome day, everyone, and I'll catch you guys next time.